It's one thing to win, but let's do it properly and let the people really have a voice. The people's voice was taken today.
People were getting let in at the proper time. We had a caucus. And the people voted for slated candidates to represent them.
Dolton, Illinois, a small town of just over 200 residents, has found itself at the center of a political storm, with Mayor Tiffany Henyard in the spotlight, serving not only as Dolton's mayor but also as the supervisor of Thornton Township. Henyard holds significant influence in both roles. While she portrays herself as a leader for the people, critics accuse her of prioritizing personal luxury, citing allegations of first-class travel, upscale hotel stays, and questionable use of public funds. The situation has escalated, with the FBI now investigating her actions, turning the small-town political scene into a spectacle worthy of a primetime drama.
If she wants to run for supervisor again, it will have to be as a write-in.
Tiffany Henyard is no stranger to the spotlight, a role she has fully embraced during her tenure as mayor of Dolton and supervisor of Thornton Township. Her image is hard to miss, from her face plastered on GTI billboards to music videos where she lip-syncs and struts alongside uniformed officials. Despite leading two financially strained communities, Henyard's salary surpasses that of the governor of Illinois, a fact that has not gone unnoticed. While Dolton's streets deteriorate, resources remain scarce, and local economic opportunities dwindle, critics argue that Henyard prioritizes self-promotion over public service. Combined with her hefty paycheck, have fueled widespread frustration among residents who feel their tax dollars are funding her personal ambitions, rather than addressing the town's budget deficits, high unemployment, and crumbling infrastructure. For many, her leadership seems more focused on building her brand than building a better Dolton or Thornton Township. And Tiffany Henyard's leadership style has come under intense scrutiny, with critics accusing her of being self-serving and out of touch with the community she was elected to serve. Her music videos, billboards, and flashy publicity stunts are seen not as efforts to uplift Dolton or Thornton Township, but as attempts to elevate her personal profile. The outrage isn't just about her oversized salary, which exceeds that of the Illinois governor, but about the stark contrast it presents to the financial struggles of the residents around her. While families grapple with food insecurity, young people leave in search of better opportunities, and small businesses in Dolton continue to shutter, Henyard's paycheck only grows. This glaring financial disparity highlights a deeper divide between her image-driven leadership and the real, unaddressed needs of the community. What has further alienated residents is Tiffany Henyard's apparent failure to meaningfully address the community's struggles or acknowledge their daily hardships. While she enjoys the perks of her dual roles as mayor of Dolton and supervisor of Thornton Township, the community continues to decline. Public trust has eroded and resentment has grown as town meetings often devolve into battlegrounds where frustrated residents demand transparency and accountability. Concerns about mismanagement loom large, with critics highlighting the irony of a leader with such a hefty salary delivering so few tangible results. Roads remain riddled with potholes, essential services are strained, and residents are left questioning whether their hard-earned tax dollars are being used to serve the public or to serve Henyard's personal ambitions. Public services in Dolton and Thornton Township are overstretched, and taxpayers see little return on their investment in local government. For many frustrated residents, Tiffany Henyard has come to symbolize everything wrong with leadership rooted in vanity and excess, rather than public service. Her critics describe her tenure as a glaring example of misplaced priorities, where glitz and self-promotion have overshadowed the hard, unglamorous work of governance. Meanwhile, her supporters argue that her bold, unconventional methods represent a break from politics as usual, praising her audacity and confidence in taking on dual leadership roles. However, this defense does little to quell mounting criticism from residents who are desperate for real solutions to Dolton and Thornton Townships' infrastructure decay and crumbling public trust. The growing divide between Tiffany Henyard's high-profile lifestyle and the grinding poverty faced by her constituents reflects a deeper frustration with leadership that feels distant and unresponsive. Residents want transparency, accountability, and most importantly, practical improvements to help their community thrive. Instead, they see a leader whose salary far exceeds that of top state officials, even as the local economy struggles. Henyard's flair for the spotlight may have boosted her public persona, but the glaring contrast between her image and the harsh realities of her constituents' lives has left many residents disillusioned and questioning whether she truly has their best interests at heart.
A temporary restraining order blocking her from making those appointments without approval from.
Critics have grown increasingly frustrated with Mayor Tiffany Henyard, questioning her ability to effectively manage two demanding leadership roles, Mayor of Dolton and Supervisor of Thornton Township, when even one position requires full focus. Henyard, however, remains defiant, claiming her leadership is transformative and beneficial to the community. She is known for providing small-scale financial relief to residents, such as paying utility bills or property taxes. While supporters view these actions as signs of a compassionate leader committed to alleviating hardships, critics argue they are little more than political stunts aimed at boosting her public image. Detractors contend that such gestures do little to address the community's deeper, systemic issues, leaving residents with temporary relief but no lasting solutions. Mayor Tiffany Henyard's tenure continues to be marred by controversy, with allegations that she uses public funds to run what some describe as a personal charity, raising serious ethical and legal concerns. Critics accuse her of misusing taxpayer resources for self-promotion rather than funding long-term solutions to persistent issues like crumbling infrastructure, rising crime, and economic decline. They view her high-profile interventions as performative rather than productive. On the other hand, her supporters praise her unconventional, hands-on approach as a sign of bold leadership and genuine care for residents in need. These conflicting views have deepened divisions within the community, where some see her actions as acts of compassion, while others condemn them as calculated exploitation. As scrutiny intensifies, Henyard's defiance only amplifies the tension, leaving many to wonder whether her leadership, marked by bold visibility and sharp division, represents the change Dolton and Thornton Township need, or if it's worsening the dysfunction threatening their future.
First time in many weeks, Dolton trustees and Mayor Tiffany Henyard held a public meeting together, but not at Village.
The FBI's scrutiny of Tiffany Henyard's financial dealings has marked a dramatic turning point in her controversial tenure as Mayor of Dolton and Supervisor of Thornton Township. What began as allegations of questionable spending has escalated into a sweeping federal investigation. Authorities are reportedly examining every aspect of her financial activities, from personal expenses to political funds and charity accounts. This is no ordinary inquiry. The FBI has intensified its efforts, employing advanced electronic surveillance, reviewing bank records, and interviewing former employees and local business owners who accuse Henyard of misusing public funds. The gravity of these allegations has cast a shadow over her leadership, exposing a pattern of alleged misconduct that has left her tenure under intense public and legal scrutiny. Reckless spending, which some believe has gone unchecked for far too long, has become a focal point of the growing controversy surrounding Tiffany Henyard. Among the most damaging accusations are claims that she has regularly used township credit cards for lavish personal indulgences, including first-class flights, extravagant dinners, high-end shopping, and stays at luxury hotels. One particularly shocking revelation centers around a staggering $43,000 allegedly spent on Amazon purchases in a single day. Henyard, however, has dismissed these accusations, suggesting they are politically motivated and driven by personal vendettas from opponents eager to sabotage her leadership. Despite her defense, as these serious allegations continue to mount, public trust in her leadership continues to erode, leaving the community deeply divided. Critics argue that, regardless of whether Henyard's claims of innocence hold any weight, the FBI's thorough investigation has already revealed alarming lapses in oversight regarding Dolton's finances during her tenure. Supporters, however, continue to rally around her, framing the investigation as yet another attack on a bold leader who has consistently challenged traditional power structures. Meanwhile, the growing divide between her detractors and defenders has deepened, further fracturing the community. Many residents are questioning how township resources have been managed and whether long-standing accusations of financial mismanagement will finally result in real consequences. What's undeniable is that the FBI's involvement has elevated the situation to a level of urgency that Henyard can no longer deflect with public relations efforts alone. With each new revelation, the pressure on her leadership intensifies. As the controversy deepens, Tiffany Henyard finds herself increasingly embroiled in scandal, with former employees and local figures coming forward to bolster claims that she prioritized personal luxury over public service. This narrative is gaining traction, fueling outrage among residents who feel abandoned by their leadership. Once branding herself as the super mayor and touting her ability to drive change, Henyard now faces the harsh reality of an FBI investigation and a growing avalanche of allegations. These developments have cast a long shadow over her leadership legacy, leaving many to question how much longer this political and legal firestorm can persist before it delivers its final, irreversible blow.
That in order to get a business license or a liquor license, you need an attorney.
Amid mounting criticisms of her leadership and financial decisions, Tiffany Henyard's defense centers on claims that her life is in danger, justifying the need for extensive and costly security measures. However, the fallout from these expenses is exacerbating Dolton's already fragile financial situation, sparking outrage among residents. With only 45 police officers serving the town, several have been reassigned to form Henyard's personal security detail, diverting crucial public safety resources from the broader community. Critics argue that this arrangement is leaving Dolton increasingly vulnerable. Despite the backlash, Henyard refuses to back down, firmly asserting that her security measures are both necessary and justified. Tiffany Henyard defends her extensive security measures as justified, citing approval under the terms of her union contract and even upholding by a judge in court. However, doubts continue to swirl regarding the nature of the threats that would require round-the-clock police protection for a small-town mayor, especially when Dolton is struggling to provide essential resources for its residents. The controversy deepened further when it was revealed that Henyard's security detail has driven police overtime expenses to staggering levels. Several officers assigned to her protection are reportedly being paid massive sums, far exceeding their base salaries, raising concerns about the allocation of taxpayer funds in a time of financial strain. The excessive overtime payments for Henyard's security detail are difficult for critics to justify, especially given Dolton's ongoing economic challenges. One particularly alarming report revealed that a single officer received an additional $114,000 in overtime compensation, while another officer's overtime earnings exceeded $100,000, effectively tripling their standard pay. To put this into perspective, the base annual salary for these officers is around $87,000. Making the disparity between regular pay and overtime particularly shocking for residents. In a town where financial hardships are widespread, this revelation has only intensified outrage over how taxpayer dollars are being spent. The revelation of these excessive security expenses has struck a nerve, sparking heated debates about fiscal responsibility and priorities under Henyard's leadership. Both residents and critics are left questioning the necessity of such spending. Are the reported threats to Tiffany Henyard's safety credible enough to justify such an extreme use of taxpayer funds? Or is this yet another example of misplaced priorities that drain the community's already limited resources? The optics of spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on one person's personal protection are particularly jarring when viewed against the backdrop of Dolton's ongoing struggles with crumbling infrastructure, underfunded programs, and persistent public safety challenges. As challenges continue to mount for the community, Henyard's detractors argue that while she insists her safety is at risk, it is Dolton's already fragile financial stability that faces the greatest threat. Tensions surrounding this issue have become increasingly sharp, with frustrated residents viewing the escalating police overtime costs as clear evidence of fiscal irresponsibility, and Henyard's refusal to share in the sacrifices the rest of the community faces daily. Many locals believe this security expense highlights a larger issue under Henyard's leadership, a pattern of extravagant and self-serving spending that seems disconnected from the economic struggles of the people she was elected to serve. While Henyard's supporters argue that her high-profile roles as both mayor of Dolton and supervisor of Thornton Township have made her a target, and that such protections are reasonable, the growing anger among Dolton residents about dwindling public safety resources and worsening financial conditions is making it harder to justify the costs. Henyard's insistence that these security measures are both contractually approved and legally defended does little to calm residents, who see their tax dollars being drained into a personal security bubble rather than benefiting the broader community. As questions persist about the true nature of the threats against her and frustration mounts over officers receiving exorbitant overtime pay, the controversy surrounding Henyard's security detail highlights the deeper dysfunction within her administration. For a town already facing economic instability, the price of her perceived safety seems unsustainable, leaving many residents to ask, at what cost does Tiffany Henyard's protection come? and who is protecting the town's budget from further collapse.
Embattled Dolton Mayor Tiffany Henyard is mounting a re-election bid. Henyard made the announcement.
Tiffany Henyard's opponents on the village board have intensified the drama by accusing her of using her security detail for personal errands. They argue that officers should be patrolling the streets, not acting as private couriers. Former police chief Robert Collins, who was fired during Henyard's tenure, claimed that officers were sent to pick up food, drive her to private events, and run various errands unrelated to official duties. While Henyard has dismissed these allegations as politically motivated attacks, Collins stated publicly that the claims have further fueled outrage among residents, who feel their safety is being compromised to accommodate her personal needs. Speaking at a recent public gathering, Henyard dismissed the allegations as diversionary tactics, attempting to shift focus from more pressing issues. Tiffany Henyard responded to the mounting criticism by claiming that the accusations against her were spread by those who opposed her success. She suggested the criticism stemmed from jealousy and that her opponents were intimidated by her popularity and leadership. "They are not angry about the security," she said. "I make them uncomfortable because I'm doing what they couldn't." While her supporters applauded her defiance, others in the crowd turned away, highlighting the deep division she has caused in Dolton. The drama reached a peak when, for the first time in decades, the township nominated candidates through a caucus rather than a primary election. Henyard's loss of her place on the Democratic ballot for Thornton Township supervisor intensified the controversy. The process, led by State Senator Napoleon Harris, who was also the township's Democratic committee chair, culminated in his winning the nomination. Henyard's slate of candidates lacked a certified assessor, meaning she didn't even make it onto the ballot. Enraged, Tiffany stormed out of the caucus, declaring it unlawful and vowing to sue all parties involved.
Teasing a big announcement that she claims will result in some of her opponents being arrested and charged.
However, the controversy didn't stop there. Videos from the event showed frantic scenes of people shouting and pushing to get in, but many were turned away as the room reached full capacity. Tiffany claims the caucus was rigged against her, accusing Harris of voter suppression. She asserts that hundreds of her supporters were left standing outside in freezing temperatures, unable to enter the venue. MERS. In response, she has filed a lawsuit to contest the caucus results, alleging that the process violated voters' rights. Harris and his team, however, maintain that the process was fair and legal, dismissing her claims as unfounded. Henyard's team contends that Harris's supporters were allowed in first, leaving her supporters out in the cold. In her own words, she said, "They couldn't beat me, so they locked my people out." Meanwhile, her mayoral office in Dolton is also facing its own chaos, with the police department operating without for most of the year. The Dolton Police Department has been without a permanent chief, and Tiffany's recent choice for interim chief was rejected by a judge. Meanwhile, tensions with the village board trustees have escalated, with some publicly distancing themselves from her, even stating that they are counting down the days until she leaves office. However, Tiffany remains unfazed and has made it clear to residents that, whether they like it or not, she is their mayor. She continues to face intense criticism for her extravagant spending, which includes first-class flights and stays at upscale hotels, with many accusing her of living like a celebrity, while Dolton struggles financially. One local even remarked on the dire state of Chicago, drawing a sharp contrast between her lavish lifestyle and the community's ongoing hardships. Some residents have expressed their frustration, calling the situation a joke, with one remarking that doing nothing and giving her a platform only extends her reign. Another said, "It's amazing she isn't in handcuffs." While their frustrations are palpable, Tiffany does have a devoted following of supporters who view her as a community champion. Despite the scandals surrounding her, they argue that she has brought more attention to Dolton than any previous mayor, even if that attention has come with significant drama. Alongside the growing controversies, Tiffany is also facing multiple lawsuits, including 3 former employees suing her for wrongful termination, claiming they were fired for refusing to engage in corrupt practices. Additionally, business owners have accused her of retaliation for denying licenses and permits to those who did not support her. The Dolton Park District has also added to the list of accusations against Tiffany, claiming she imposed false fines and blocked grants for park improvements. These accusations paint a picture of a leader who prioritizes power over the well-being of the community. While Tiffany asserts that she has generated millions of dollars for Dolton, the town's budget presents a starkly different reality. As the FBI investigation continues, more questions are being raised about her financial dealings and where the money is going. Residents are demanding answers as the town's deficit continues to grow. Is Tiffany's lavish lifestyle being funded by public dollars, Or is there more to the story? Additionally, Tiffany's claims of being singled out have sparked debate that during her residency, her property taxes were paid for percentages of the town of LA. Could she truly be the victim of a political scheme, or is this simply a convenient excuse? The story has also seen the emergence of Tiffany's former right-hand man, Keith Freeman, once her closest ally, who has become a significant figure in the unfolding drama. Keith Freeman, Tiffany's former right-hand man, has reportedly turned against her, cooperating with the FBI and allegedly revealing details about her spending habits, which, if proven true, could mark the end of her political career. However, Freeman, facing bankruptcy fraud charges, may be turning on Tiffany to save himself, adding complexity to the situation. Despite mounting pressure, Tiffany remains defiant, campaigning for re-election as Dolton's mayor and insisting she will win in a landslide, claiming, "Put some respect on my name because I am loved throughout Thornton Township." But with the FBI investigation intensifying, lawsuits piling up, and public trust plummeting, her political future hangs by a thread. The question remains, will she clear her name, or is this the beginning of the end for Tiffany Henyard? If the allegations hold true, what does it reveal about the state of local politics? One thing is clear, Dolton hasn't seen the last of this drama. Tell us in the comments if you think Tiffany was the victim of a political conspiracy or just another dishonest official caught in the act.